Wise Solomon once said, "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death." And unfortunately, many South Africans, due to the tough times in their lives, have taken a way that seemed like it would lead to a better life, while in reality, it's leading the opposite direction. Before we get into it, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. For months, our family has been really irritated by electricity and water price rise and issues. The bills have gone way higher than they were from the time we moved into this home, while our usage has not changed much. In fact, we changed from an electricity stove to a gas stove. I went to the municipality several times and was told to get a prepaid meter, which doesn't really make sense, Does the prepaid decrease the usage, or does it mean that you just pay before you use the electricity? Anyway, it has kind of accumulated. We have been paying what we can, when we can, until they sent officials on Friday with a letter to cut off our electricity for late payment. We pay every month, but some months are too high, so we don't pay all of it. My husband had a conversation with the gentleman who came with a disconnection letter and asked them why they keep charging us so much. They tell him that they are willing to help us out. They point to a house next door and tell my husband that they have helped that family already. That poor white family only goes to pay any amount that they feel like paying to keep the books in the dark, you see. Otherwise, the electricity meter has been rigged to make it run very slow. They offered to do the same for us too at a very low price of 2,000 rands. These officials point to a Nigerian man's house also near us and tell my husband that they sorted his meter out too. According to them, that Nigerian man has many rental properties in town and he doesn't pay electricity for any of them. And you can imagine how the rent in his rental property obviously becomes cheaper than other people, other properties, because other property owners will require their tenants to pay for the electricity and the water bill. Thus, it puts him at an unfair, illegal advantage over other rental property owners. Imagine this. One corrupt person can own 10 properties, each housing 10 to maybe 20 flats, meaning 10 to 20 families, all using but not paying for electricity or water. This is not because the property owner is poor and can't pay for the water and electricity being used in his properties, but because South Africans are thinking based on the short-term gains instead of the long-term grave results of taking bribes and rigging meters. Our own citizens are selling our country while making some people rich. Zuma, Gigaba, and many others did that with the Guptas. I understand that many South Africans are going through a lot currently. I've experienced electricity cuts for non-payments, so I've had my fair share of challenges too. But we should not allow our challenges or greed to cause us to make short-term decisions that destroy our country long-term. Whenever foreigners or citizens bribe us to allow them pass into South Africa with drugs or counterfeit goods, whenever we allow them to smuggle stolen vehicles out of the country, whenever we are bribed to bypass the system, whenever we cause police dockets to disappear and allow criminals to go back into society, whenever we give permits and visas to people that don't qualify simply because they have some money to give us, we have been used to destroy our own country. We should be more patriotic. We should care more about our country and our fellow citizens. We should learn to think about the ripple effects of our immediate decisions, right? There is this incorrect belief that if you steal from Eskom, it is Eskom's loss, but it's not. There is this belief that you're just stealing from the municipality, but you're not. You're stealing from yourself and you're stealing from the rest of us. Whatever the municipality doesn't get from the right people, they will make sure they get it from the rest of us through increasing our bills and our taxes. You got that 2,000 Rand bribe to rig electricity meters, you used it to patch up your expenses, but the municipalities end up struggling to pay for their bills to Eskom. Society ends up paying for electricity that has been consumed by those that bridge the electricity. The rest of us who would rather pay for electricity honestly will find ourselves paying for these evil people who are among us, who you helped make that possible. Tax increases are implemented. Monies meant to cover certain issues in the municipalities are diverted to pay for the consumption that those you rigged for are not paying. Load shedding, Eskom bailouts, these are some of the ripple effects. And it doesn't stop with those among us rigging electricity meters. Each of us should consider what are we doing that looks like it will stop or reduce our hardships in the short term while destroying our country long term. For example, some people in the trucking business allow greed to lead them to criminal activities of damaging railway lines to make sure their trucks stay in business related to Eskom. In addition to the trucking companies benefiting from this crime and greed, coal coming on trucks instead of trains also creates opportunities for corrupt activities to happen, for people who want to steal or contaminate the coal to do so.
The black market for coal is booming. Thousands and thousands of tons of the commodity stolen load by load by load, hitting the economy hard and pushing the load shedding crisis.
Coal gets transported along South African roads every day, from mines destined for power stations, siding yards for export, or furnaces used by local industry. But what gets loaded at point A doesn't always make it to point B. The kingpins send out scouts targeting drivers. This man was recruited at a truck stop.
The guy who approaches me, he says there is a deal like this. You switch the coal, you tip a little bit, then you add you another one.
The fact that the ANC has let 30 years come and go without technological advancements being adopted for the infrastructure of the country is why it's so easy for these criminal activities to succeed. By now, damage to railway lines, water, electricity meters should be identified using technologies that detect when something has been tampered with immediately.
While at this train depot, they perform more routine inspections and maintenance as frequently as every 2 days. So this section is where the undercarriages are routinely inspected. There are 100 total items that need to be checked by the workers, such as the wheels, axles, and brake systems. Wow, check out all the marks everywhere. Looks like a bad day for a school essay. But for this Shinkansen, it means that each specific part has passed inspection.
By now, there should be inspections happening on all railway lines to identify, assess, report, and attend to maintenance needs. You mean to tell me that the ANC leaders have not been able to identify that a family of 5 is paying too little? They can't tell that smaller families pay more for electricity and water than this property owner pays in a property that houses 10 or more families. That Nigerian man's house has rooms outside. There are people renting from him, and yet he doesn't pay for electricity and water. In this day and age, the municipality should be able to detect that automatically. But since you don't have the technology to detect it, then do audits. But then again, it won't help if people doing audits and inspections are unpatriotic and ready to take a bribe to sell the country. The greed that these people have needs serious attention, guys. Jail time needs to happen for officials who are facilitating the looting and stealing from our country. Patriotism needs to be a priority, taught to our children from childhood, in schools and everywhere they go. We need patriotism to be taught to our people. We need people to love their parks, their streets, and public transport to a point that anyone who dumps rubbish should be scared, more scared of his neighbors than the police. Anyone who even considers participating in public indecency, bribes, and greed that compromises a citizens and country should be ashamed. Anyway, this is something that happened to us last Friday, and I just thought I should share it with you guys. I know that life is tough as a reason and excuse for many people who engage in this unpatriotic behavior, but you're not the only one experiencing tough times in life. If we all believe that just because life is tough, we have to abandon decency and become greedy, or that unpatriotic decisions are excusable, what type of country will we be living in? Please, guys, let's be more patriotic. Please share, like, and subscribe. I'm Katla Romari. This is Citizen Concerned. Until next time, beware of the comrades.